Hello students, today we're going to go further into angles and we're going to be describing angle pair relationships. Don't forget to take notes as you go and complete the survey that follows this video. So let's take a look at a couple definitions. The first definition is what a complementary angle is. Complementary angles are two angles whose sum is 90 degrees, and each angle is called the complement of the other. The other type of angle that we have is supplementary angles. These are two angles whose sum is 180 degrees. And we say that each angle is the supplement of the other. So try to find a way to remember which one is which. I like to think of that the letter C comes before the letter S, and in the number line the 90 comes before 180, so complementary with 90, supplementary with 80. But again, it's up to you how you decide to remember those two things. Adjacent angles are two angles that share a common vertex and side. The reason we wanted to go over that again is because we have two different ways we can look at complementary and supplementary angles. One way would be if they are adjacent, so they have that one piece that is common to them. As you can see right here, this would be their adjacent side, and they have that common vertex. And it has a right angle box in there, so you can also see that this adds up to 90 degrees. So the one on the right here, they're angle 3 and angle 4. They are non-adjacent. They don't have that common vertex, but that doesn't mean that they can't be complements of each other. Similarly, with the supplementary angles, we can have ourselves an adjacent set of angles, so the one on the left here. Again, we're sharing that common vertex and that common side. Or also we can add up to angles that are non-adjacent, such as the angles 7 and angles 8. Those two are not adjacent to each other, but they can also be supplementary. Continuing on with our definitions, if I were to say that something is a linear pair, that means that these two adjacent angles whose non-common sides are opposite rays. So this would be an example of two angles that are linear pairs. So linear pairs are automatically going to be supplementary, so they're always going to add to 180 degrees. But again, in order to be a linear pair, the key word is here, so we're going to have two adjacent angles. They have to be next to each other. They cannot be separated from each other. And then one other type of pair that we can have are vertical angles. These are two angles whose sides form two pairs of opposite sides. So taking a look at this, we have two sets of vertical angles here, angles 4 and angles 5. Those two are vertical angles, and angles 3 and angle 6. So as you can see, if we're looking right next to each other, such as 3 and 5 or 3 and 4, those two are going to add up to 180. Those are linear pairs, but if we look across from each other in this case, then they're going to be vertical angles. So the key word here is that this ray and this ray here have to be opposite rays, and same deal here. This angle here, or this ray and this ray here, have to be opposite rays. They can't one cannot be slightly going off in the direction like that in order to be vertical angles. The next thing we have here is a linear pair postulate. And this is what I was discussing a little bit earlier. If we have two angles that are a linear pair, then they are also supplementary. So as we saw before, linear pair, this has to form a straight line, and that means we have ourselves a straight angle. So these two angles here, whatever we have, the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2, they always have to add up to 180 degrees. So they are supplementary. And please forgive my awful handwriting that we have here. Okay, interpreting diagrams is the last thing I want to go over with you. I want to make sure you understand what you are allowed to conclude from a diagram and what you are not. Things that you are allowed to conclude from a diagram is observing whether or not points are coplanar, as well as being points that are collinear. So if you see yourself that looks like a straight line, and you can see all the line points that are on there, you can assume that they are collinear. And same thing, if they look like they're on the same plane, you can assume that they are coplanar. Points of intersection, as long as you can identify them, you can assume that that is a point of intersection. You can determine whether angles are adjacent, and as well as that they are supplementary. And that's the key thing here. Supplementary is the only thing you're allowed to assume, because you can tell if we have ourselves straight angles. And we can also make assumptions about vertical angles whenever we're looking at a diagram. So for example here, we can see that points A, B, and C, those points there are collinear. All these points appear to be on the same plane. We can find points of intersection, such as this ray and ray DB, and our line segment here, or line AC. Oops, not highlighting, just want to erase that. We can also say that something is supplementary. So for this angle here and this angle here, we're going to assume that they're supplementary, but we can't say anything about being complementary. So we can't assume that this angle here and this angle here are complementary, because we don't know if we have ourselves right angles. So that leads us into things that we are not allowed to conclude from a diagram, as long as we don't have any markings or we're not told. Now obviously if we have markings in the diagram, then we're allowed to use it or we're told in the directions that we're allowed to use it. So for example, we can tell if angles and segments are congruent. Perpendicularity means we have ourselves 90-degree angles, and we cannot say without being told that angles are complementary. So in this diagram here, we can see that this piece and this piece here, they are congruent. Same thing with the angles here and here, they are congruent, but that's only because we have those markings there to indicate that that's happening. Same idea with this right angle marking here. We were not allowed to conclude it in the previous diagram because it did not have those markings, and now we're able to do so. So please make sure you understand the difference between what you're allowed to assume from a diagram and things that you cannot assume for a diagram. Markings are very important. If you have any questions, please make sure you bring them to class tomorrow or submit them in the survey. Also complete the survey that follows this video. See you tomorrow.